Welcome to Look Around Florida, and Sean will be with you next.
Hi guys, welcome to Look Around Florida. I'm your host, Sean McFall, aka the Florida Man. We are getting ready here in the next couple of days to celebrate 4th of July. Multiple camps out there are getting involved with 4th of July parade. My camp, this past Saturday, we got involved with the 4th of July parade. We do it every year down in Everglades City. They welcomed us with open arms. We had the battle flag going, we had the SCV flag going, and we had the Florida Chase flag going. So it was definitely a fun time. Hey, Jeffro. Hey, Linda. Hey, Beth. It was definitely a fun time Saturday in Everglades City. We handed out about a lot of beads, the neck beads from like Mardi Gras. And we handed out over 50 Confederate little stick battle flags. So it was definitely a fun time down there. Jeffro Kahn, our Flags Across Florida chairman, joined us. Rick Gray from the St. Pete camp, that's also on the Florida Graves Committee, joined us in Everglades City Saturday. So I want to give a shout out Jeffro and Rick Gray. Thank you for joining, taking part with us in Everglades City Saturday. It was a fun time. We also onboarded 3 new friends of the SCV also. So we are working with them on their genealogy. They gave me a last name. A family member's maiden name. So, hey, Rick, I just talked about you, sir. So, I did some work on Fold 3, see what I came up with. I came up with 3 possibilities out of Arkansas, at Arkansas Confederate forces. So, hope to get them on board, get them full members and on board soon. With that, we have a parade coming up. I had my notes. There we go. We have a parade coming up Saturday in Arcadia, Florida. If you want to come in and join the Florida Man and the Arcadia camp, light up location for the parade on July 4th. Staging starts at 9 a.m. Your location is located on Oak Street between Dade and Palm, and any green space in the area. The area is for all horse entries. And so, if you want to come and join us this Thursday in Arcadia, come join us. If you don't want to take part in the parade, you're in the crowd, just yell out, "Hey, Florida Man." I had the paparazzi chasing me Saturday in Everglades City, so that was a plus. Like I said, it was a fun time. I know that one, and I know various other camps are doing other 4th of July parades. So tonight we're going to stay with that theme. Bobby Van Zandt, the man with the plan, is in the chat. We're going to stay with that theme. We got Carl Jones in the background right now. So we're going to stay with the 4th of July theme on the Constitution, what led up to it. Please all give a warm welcome to Carl Jones, our Army of Tennessee councilman.
Hang on, man. I'm trying to find my link. Where'd you go? There you are. I've got multiple links open, and I couldn't figure out which one you were on.
Oh, that's all right.
I was looking at another one.
Hey, Mr. Pope. Hey, Victor. So, Carl, you got any plans for the 4th?
Maybe. You'd have to ask my wife that. Actually,
Okay.
tomorrow is her birthday, so that's my first hurdle. I'm cooking a tri-tip for her birthday. She doesn't know that, but yeah, and she doesn't even know what a tri-tip is. In fact, I've never cooked one. So
Okay.
that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, and then I don't know what we're doing over the weekend. I've got a gun student coming Saturday morning, so that's typical. So yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, we got quite a bit of people in the chat. People with the Florida division. We got David with the Tennessee division. So yes, Jeffro, I'm looking forward to Charleston. How about you, Carl?
Oh yeah, I am. Everything except the drive.
Hey, don't feel bad. I'm all the way down here by the Everglades, so it takes
Yeah, I
me.
know. You and Roy Hudson, I really feel guilty complaining and around the two of y'all because I got about 9 hours over there.
Yeah, from where I live, where Roy lives, he lives on the other side of the state from me,
Yeah,
and it's about 2-3 hours to where Roy and Miss Linda live.
yeah. Yeah, well, they don't mind driving. I'm kind of honestly, if I never had to leave Coleman County again, I'd be happy.
Right.
I do it. I travel, but I don't do it for pleasure. So
Yeah. Well, with the type of work I do, I cover 5 counties. So yeah. I'm used to driving.
Well, the longest trip I take in a given week, generally, except unless I'm visiting a camp, visiting another division, something of that nature, is to the grocery store, which is 24 miles from my house.
Okay. Now, your grocery store, do they buy local meat and process it? Or is it
I don't think it's local, but yeah, the 2 grocery stores actually that I go to, they've got their own butcher. They cut their own meat and everything. It's not prepackaged stuff. We do actually have a processor. Actually got a couple of them in our. There's a lot of cattle in my county. Cattle farming and chicken farming are big.
Yeah.
Around here. And so yeah, they've got. I think that one of the processors they raise all their own pork. All the pork is local. The beef they probably bring it in, but they process all of it themselves.
Oh, that's cool.
It's not cheap, but it's good meat.
Yeah. Yeah, that where I live, it's prime cattle country, and it's slowly disappearing. Slowly.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that about Florida. Florida was cattle country back in the day.
Yep. And we actually formed a special unit called the Cow Cavalry during the war to protect that cattle.
Yeah. Yeah, my 4th great grandparents, my 4th great grandfather and his 3 brothers were probably some of the first settlers in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
They moved in there in 1833, 1834 out of North Carolina. I don't know when the cattle boom, when the cattle trail started into Florida. They went down, what I've read, they went into Florida as missionaries to evangelize the Seminole Indians. And in the early days when they got there, they didn't have an actual structure where they held worship services. They held it outside, and it had to be surrounded by armed guards because the Native Americans they were there to evangelize were attacking the worship services. So,
Yep.
But yeah, they were down there, and I know at least by 1835 they were there because that's where my Confederate one of my Confederate ancestors, the one I joined under, that's where he was born. He was born in Gaston County, Florida, in 1835. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yep, a lot of Florida blood, man. Maybe that's why I always come on your show. I've never told you no. So.
This is true. Well, that's with me, and I'm looking forward to Charleston because leading up to that Wednesday when we all get in there and check in, me and our sergeant major with our mechanized cavalry, Ronnie Nichols, we're going to be meeting in Anderson, South Carolina, and he's going to show me the McFall plantation, and we're going to track down where my Confederate ancestors are buried in that town.
That's cool.
He just joined the chat.
Well, Ronnie's in here. The party can start now.
Yep. Exactly. We got Ronnie just joined and Lewis just joined. All right. Now you were saying earlier about about the Constitution and the 4th of July.
Well, they're two separate things. The people mistakenly, when I say people, I mean almost everybody, because it's what we've been taught.
Right.
We mistake 1776, July 4th, as the founding of America. It was no such thing. It was the founding. It was the founding of the initiation of 13 independent states, previously colonies. The most important part of the Constitution is found in the left paragraph where they say that we are in the right, and these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states. So by declaring their independence, they ceased to be colonies, which means subjects of a parent government, and they formed into sovereign and independent states, which in the vernacular of the time would have meant nations. So Virginia was a nation, Massachusetts was a nation, South Carolina, North Carolina, they were independent of one another. They were united by 1781. The Articles of Confederation was ratified, and they were united together for the purpose of common defense and trade. All right, but you had the biggest way that the Articles of Confederation differed from what would later take its place, which is the present day U.S. Constitution, or what's left of it, was that under the Articles of Confederation, you had a Congress, but the Congress had no lawmaking authority, had no legislative authority. All they could do was draft and pass resolutions and then take them back to the states, and the states would decide whether they wanted to comply or not. Okay, so they had no lawmaking authority. John Adams pointed out that the historical definition of Congress is a meeting place of ambassadors. Okay, and so that was how they saw the Congress. Honestly, even when the U.S. Constitution came about, that definition really didn't change. They were still ambassadors from sovereign nation states that happened to be united together. It's just that they had, in the present day Constitution, they had gained lawmaking authority. Another key difference was that there was a president of the Confederation Congress under the Articles of Confederation. Notice that the United States were a confederation. Oh, wow, there's that evil word. People don't know what that means.
Right.
They think that the Confederate States of America is the only confederation that ever existed. No, at one time, Germany was a confederation. Confederation is derived from the term confederal or federal, meaning separated authority, right? Okay. But anyway, the president, there was a president on the Articles of Confederation, but his duty, as the name implies, was merely to preside. Notice that, preside, president, was to preside over the Congress. He had no executive authority. Take the words executive, and what does that come from? Execute. It means the Congress could pass no laws, and the president had no authority to execute laws, or in other words, to carry them into force. He was merely a figurehead who presided over the Congress, sort of a mediator, so to speak. And so that arrangement lasted. They ratified. They started it actually in 1777, and they finally officially put the Articles of Confederation into legal force by 1781, and that lasted until 1788 when the U.S. Constitution was ratified, and it took the place of the Articles of Confederation. And you could say at that point, really, 1788 was the birth of the United States of America as we think of it today. Now, I would go a step beyond that, and I would say that the Constitution that came out of the Philadelphia Convention was violently and radically overthrown with Abraham Lincoln's victory in 1865. It has not existed to any pertinent degree since then. And in reality, our country, as we know it today, we entered into the Lincolnian age. And so really, we're not even 200 years old yet. 1865 was the birth of a new consolidated, centralized nation that has become the very thing that the framers and ratifiers of the U.S. Constitution were trying to prevent. It was a new founding, and it was a forced founding, not a voluntary act of sovereign entities, such as the Constitution was.
Cool. Wow. I don't know what to say. I was taking it all in.
Well, as my friend Ryan Walters said, Lincoln revolutionized the revolution.
Right.
What we call the American Revolution was, in fact, not a revolution at all. It wasn't a revolt. It was an act of secession. It was a peaceful parting of ways with the English crown. It should have been peaceful, except that King George and Parliament decided to invade. They didn't want to lose their power. They didn't want to lose the money, the taxation, the resources that came out of the American colonies, and so they invaded in an effort to forcefully retain that. But what we call the revolution, it was actually a conservative undertaking. Okay, it was an effort to peacefully part ways and pursue self-determination on the part of those 13 colonies. So Lincoln is the one that made it a revolution when he went in the 1860s and tried to redefine everything. He essentially rewrote the meaning of the Declaration of Independence. He rewrote the Constitution, reinterpreted it into something that it was never intended to be. And that was a revolutionary act. He violated Article 3 of the Constitution by making war against the states. And, and then a host of other things. We all know about suspending habeas corpus, 30,000 political prisoners. Anybody that disagreed with Lincoln was thrown into political prison. tapped communication lines, or put out an arrest warrant for the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. I mean, he was a radical in that sense. He was not a radical abolitionist, as many think. He was a radical politician in that he was willing to utilize any method at his discretion to force the Union back together. His actions were a very distinct and violent affront against the principles established or recognized, I should say, in the Declaration of Independence. It was an overthrowing of the original arrangement.
Correct. Get back to what you were talking about, the British. The British tried to do the same thing in 1812, right?
I don't know a ton about the War of 1812. Yeah, they were trying to assert their authority here. I've spent most of my time over the last 20 years, most of my studies kind of been into the colonial era.
Right.
I don't, but yeah, I mean, the United States, from the Revolution on, it was kind of a shaky union. As a matter of fact, during the War of 1812, which a couple of the New England states, I think Massachusetts and Connecticut, did not even, they refused to supply troops for that war. They withheld troops. When Congress called up the militia, they said, no, we're not going to send any. Then they tried to collude with the British. I think they thought the British were going to win. And so they actually considered seceding from the Union at that point and joining with the British. You want to talk about treason? That was treason. 100% that was treason. They believed that if the British won, and if they were on the side of the British, that they would have access to all these new lands that were opened up by the Louisiana Purchase, and it was going to, be an opportunity for them to expand their power and their influence across and to inhabit the rest of the continent. And so, yeah, they committed treason in the middle of the war, but then have the audacity to this day to accuse the South of committing treason when the South had justifiable reasons for wanting to leave the Union, which was not adhering to the Constitution as it was intended by its framers and ratifiers.
Right. Ugh. Well, yeah. I lost my train of thought. It's been a long day. But hey, guys, we have Coral here. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask. I know one big topic, and maybe you can elaborate on it, Coral, is, and I know a lot of people in the chat on different platforms had concerns about the motel. And I know Jason talked about it 2 Tuesdays ago about the Host Hotel there in Charleston.
Yeah, I don't know all the details on that. As I told you backstage, I've had some other issues I've been having to deal with, and so I've been kind of a little bit out of the loop. What I understand is that there is an overflow hotel. They're going to put people up there and provide charter services for them, as well as give them, I think, a free stay or something like that at the hotel at a later time. They're trying to make amends on it. They for whatever reason, decided to do a remodel of the hotel right in the middle of our reunion. I don't think there was any conspiracy behind that. I think it was just bad timing, a bad decision. But There's another conference coming in. They got conferences going there all the time, so they had to pick a time, and there was not going to be a convenient one. And some of our members kind of got the short end of the stick on that as a result of it. The one thing I do want to say is that the host camp, Secession Camp, had no control over this whatsoever. None. They were as taken aback by it as we were. This was entirely the actions of the hotel itself, not the camp. So I hope none of our members get irate and try to hold it against the camp, because they were as in the dark about it as any of the rest of us were.
Thank you for thank you for touching up on that, because I know from some of our members here in Florida, it's been kind of a sore subject. But thank you for clearing that up. And because from what I've been reading, the Secession Camp's been doing a hell of a job getting everything ready here in the next few weeks.
Well, they had they held a great reunion in 2014. I don't know why this one would be any different.
Yeah.
They're, good camp, very active camp. They've got the experience to pull this off. So, but they were hit by an unfortunate situation. Hang on.
Mm-hmm.
That's my son calling.
Not a problem, sir.
I'll have to call him back.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, just like Roy said, it's probably a corporate decision.
Most likely.
Was that on my end, or did Carl freeze up?
I don't think I froze.
Okay. You did for a second there, but yeah. We'll blame it on Moose. Good question, Jeffro.
How can we get better at communicating to everyone fast? I'd like to ask all of y'all the same question. I don't have the answer to that, man. I don't think anybody does. We've got so many avenues of communication. I mean, think about it. You've got the Confederate veteran. I think most divisions have their own newsletter. We've got social media. You've got the Telegraph. You've got Look Around Florida. You've got SCV Chat. You got Look Around the Confederation. Most divisions have their own division Facebook or social media group. You've got all these avenues of getting information out, and yet for 20 years that I've been in the SCV, I keep still hearing we've got a communication problem. I don't know how you fix it. I don't know what the answer to it is.
I will say this. I joined the SCV back in '96. Communication today compared to back then, 100% better.
Well, one of the things the biggest suggestions that I would make is, if you've got a Facebook group, every camp commander in your division, at least at the very minimum, you ought to have every camp commander in that group. If he doesn't do Facebook, then have him appoint one of his other officers, the first lieutenant, second lieutenant, communications officer, adjutant, somebody in that camp is doing Facebook. Have them appoint them, tell them you got to join this group, and we need you to bring whatever the division is reporting out on this group back to the camp, report out on it. I think every member of the Florida division, or at least every camp in the Florida division, ought to be watching Look Around Florida, because I watch y'all most episodes, most weeks, and I know you keep the division apprised of what's going on around the division. This is a great place to learn information. If you want news from National, tune in on Monday nights to SCV Chat at least once a month when you have the commander's comments, because he's going to talk about all the issues. I don't think we've got enough people that are kind of like, really, if they're getting the information, a lot of them aren't getting the information. A lot of the other ones that are getting it are not passing it on to their camp. But I think you got a lot of camp commanders and brigade commanders and division officers in general. Not saying anybody in particular, but I think there's a lot of it where they're not engaged, or they are engaged, but they're not passing what they've learned along to the camps. Another thing is brigade commanders are crucial, and if you're a brigade commander, you ought to be in the know of what's going on around your division. And more than that, you ought to be, passing that information along to your camps. It's like, 100 years ago when I was a brigade commander, every time there was a meeting whenever we had our division executive council meeting, I went back and just put out a short email. Here's what we discussed. Here's what we voted on. Any questions? And sent that out. It was just some bullet points of just kind of here bringing you guys up to date on what we did this past weekend. Mm-hmm. I don't think a lot of officers in the division or in the SCV are doing those things. They know the answers to stuff, but we got to do a better job of sharing it out. I don't think there's any one answer. I don't think there's any magical cure for it. It's simply going to be that information needs to get handed down to the members, and there's a chain of command, and we need to follow that chain of command both ways. If a member has a concern, they don't need to pick up the phone and call Adam Southern or call the commander-in-chief. They need to pick up the phone and call first their camp commander. If he can't help them, the brigade commander, then the division commander, and then the Army councilman, Army commander on up the line. But simultaneously, when the GEC has an initiative or there's news that needs to come out of the GEC, we've got to filter that down to the division commanders and the divisions and the brigades, or who should then, filter it down to the brigades. And the brigade commanders have got to take it to the camp, and the camp commander needs to take it to his members. That's how information works, so that would be my solution, but I can talk about it all day long, but until we start doing it, it ain't going to work. So
you're correct, Roy. Hey, Ryan, welcome to the chat tonight. Yeah, you're right, Roy. You can tell which camp commanders, brigade commanders, lieutenant commanders, division commanders are engaging because they do get the information out from our chain of command. Carl being our Army of Tennessee councilman, then you got Jimmy Hill, then the list goes on from there.
Yeah, the Army councilman, if people aren't, a lot of people may or may not be aware of this, but the Army commander and the Army councilman are we work hand in hand together, but they have two different jobs. Okay. The purpose of the Army commander is to represent the division on the GEC. That is his primary role, is to be a representative of the divisions within his Army. The primary purpose of the Army councilman is to be a representative of the membership within his Army, of the members themselves. Okay, so if you've got an issue, say it's a division issue, the division commander's got an issue that he can't solve in his division. All right, he should appeal to the Army commander. Of course, Jimmy and I keep each other in the loop on everything. I mean, like if there's a problem within a division, he and I are going to discuss it. But if you got, say, a member of a division who's got an issue that his camp commander, brigade commander, division commander cannot help him with, then his job is to come to the Army councilman and let us try to give guidance there, in that whatever that issue is. So it's two different roles, and but then like I said, everything in terms of communication, I mean, it's got to be rolled downhill to the division, and then the division's got to pick it up and distribute that information, and some do, and but there are a lot of times there's a glitch within the division itself. A lot of times it's the camp commander is either you're not able to contact him, or he gets the information and doesn't do anything. Well, that's why I think that camp training is imperative for the well-being of the organization, for the retention, for the growth of the organization. I think that we have got to train camps. Roy said it, and I 100% agree. You can tell which camp commanders are on top of things. You look at Tommy Rhodes, who's a camp commander or was. He's stepped down now, but Fort Blakely camp over here in Alabama. Anything that's going on in the Alabama division, they're at it. They're involved in it. At least attending. And there's nobody in that camp that doesn't know what is going on most of the time, because they're paying attention. But then you got other camps that we never hear from. I mean, I had 14 camps when I was brigade commander in my brigade. 2 of them, I spent 2 years trying to get on the phone, trying to get them to answer an email. Never heard from them. I can't help them. If they're not going to answer the doggone telephone, there's not much I can do for them. So it's just a matter of plugging in, man. You got to plug in and take an interest in what's going on. And I don't think I've ever declined to answer anybody's question if they've hit me with one. So you may not like what I have to tell you, but I'll tell you the facts. So
yeah, and I know what you're talking about as being a brigade commander. Jeffro, you're right. Yeah, here in the Florida division, they are getting small or smaller. Like with me, I mean, I'm the 15th Brigade Commander, and I only have 2 camps in my brigade. With the previous Brigade Commander, we had 4 camps in my brigade. But, people just don't want to pick up. Some people just don't want to pick up the torch and carry it on, so to speak.
Yeah, and then you have people that would like to, but they're not sure. They're not sure how to go about it. They don't have the confidence, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There must be a rabbit in my yard. I hear my dog barking.
Probably. But yeah, that's the thing is, most everybody knows I love to communicate. I love to talk, because I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I didn't.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be all over the state of Florida showing support to all the camps within the division, or at least try.
I see what they're barking at. My son just pulled up the driveway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's in a strange truck, so they're going to bark at him. They don't recognize him. He's driving a company truck home, so.
Oh, boy. Well, guys, we got Carl here tonight. Ask him questions. He's not shy. He won't bite you. He won't jump out of the TV and choke you. Go through, make sure nobody's popping any on. Well, Carl, as far as the museums and that in Charleston, are you planning on checking those out too?
I don't. I hadn't really planned what I'm going to do there. I kind of usually what everybody else wants to do, that's what I wind up doing. So
Same here. Because I definitely want to check out and see how they recovered the UDC building.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Sumter. I've never been there.
Me too. I've been to the forts all the way around Sumter, but never really gone to Sumter itself.
Yeah.
Come on, Dave. Come join us in Charleston. It's going to be a hoot. I'm doing a whole week in South Carolina. Because I'm hoping to hit up the camp commander for the Anderson camp, see if he wants to come to join us at the cemetery there. Oh, okay, Jeff, are you doing the Hunley? That's cool. Yeah, I didn't really pick. When I set up my registration, I didn't really pick too much stuff. Pretty much the same stuff I did in Arkansas. I enjoyed that, hanging out with Carl and everybody there in the lobby, getting to know everybody.
That's usually what I do, man. I kind of, my favorite part of the reunions is seeing old friends and meeting new ones.
Me too.
I've been hanging out with Calvin Hart for every reunion for as long as I can remember, and amazingly, that has apparently not hurt either one of our reputations.
Yeah. I know he's gonna watch this show later. I'm just waiting for him to chime in. See, you gotta say his name 3 times, and then he pops in. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I didn't get to go to the Georgia one, and everybody said it was crowded and there was a lot of good people there. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I was at the Charleston reunion in 2014, and it was a good event. I mean, I hadn't been to a bad reunion. They've all been good, some better than others, but and I'd say Charleston was one of the nicer ones. But they've all been, I enjoy all of them, and I realize, it's why our ancestors call them reunions and not conventions. I mean, they truly are reunions. There's so many people that I've met over the years of going to these things, and you get to see them again once a year. You don't get to see them during the year because they're in California or Arizona or Florida or Virginia or wherever, and so finally it kind of brings us all together. And, it's probably my second favorite event next to Christmas. So
I tell you this. The last time I was in Charleston was in 2000 at that reunion. It's a one that will stay in my brain forever because that's where I met a distant cousin of mine that's a direct descendant of Captain John. Captain John McFall of the South Carolina. He was the adjutant for the South Carolina Palmetto Sharpshooters, a direct descendant.
Wow.
So, we tied our family trees. We sat there and tied our trees together all the way into Ireland.
Wow.
So that's my most one that was stuck in my head. I mean, if God allows me, if I get Alzheimer's, hopefully he'll keep that memory in my brain.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I'm hoping to do it again. And hopefully he comes. He's the adjutant for the camp that takes care of I'm gonna butcher it. I know it. Benoit. The camp that takes care of that adjutant has the same last name. So we're hoping, and his ancestor is with a Confederate unit at Alabama. So we're hoping to tie our trees together if he does come to Charleston. Yes, sir, David, because that was the last place that I could find my Confederate ancestor was Appomattox Courthouse. After that, we're assuming he went home. From the research that me and Fred McFall did, because Fred McFall actually did a book, and it's based on his notes that he sent home during the war. Yeah, hope Michael Hardy comes to Charleston. He doesn't live too far from it, so stand by. Yeah, we don't stand by here. But yeah, I mean, yeah, all my Confederate ancestors are Carolinas and the Virginia area.
Well, all of our ancestors ultimately came out of Virginia and the Carolinas.
Yeah.
Because Florida and Alabama and Mississippi and Texas and places like that came later. That was the West.
Yeah.
You know, back then, Alabama was the West. You know, so yeah, there were my grandmother, my paternal grandmother was actually from Virginia, Giles County, Virginia. But the majority of my family, if you go back to say the late 17, early 1800s, you found them in North Carolina and South Carolina. The oldest family line, again, the soldier that I joined under was my great 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 grandfather. I had 10 great great and 10 great great and great 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 grandfathers that served in the Confederate Army. But most of them, there were out of those, 2 of them were Virginians. They were in the 36th Virginia. But the one that I joined under, like I said, was from Florida. But they came to Florida from Anson County, North Carolina. And if you trace that line back, you go back, they actually came to the states around, they came into King George, I think it's King George County or something, I don't remember which county it was. They came into Virginia from County Cork, Ireland, but they didn't stay there very long. They immediately moved down into North Carolina. They were there, but they were in Virginia about 1620, 1624, somewhere in that general time frame. But anybody with the last name Hinson, Hinson, I don't know about the Hen, almost every single Hinson I've ever met, or when I was tracing my family tree, they all ultimately trace back to Anson County, North Carolina.
Wow. Okay.
Except there was a line in Florida that we were probably related to them too, but they came out. There were 24 Hensons, if my memory serves, that were in Confederate regiments in the state of Florida. I was related to 16 of them. The other 8 came to Florida from Barbados. But I think they ultimately went back to County Cork, Ireland also, which the English crown referred to County Cork, Ireland as that rebel county. They hated the English as bad as the Highland Scots did. So,
yeah, for my family, yeah, yes, I have family on both sides during the war. I also have my 5th great grandfather. He served in the War of 1812. And I think it was his dad or great grandfather that served in the Revolution War. And they all came from Ireland. They were all from Northern Ireland. I had tracked it down to where they came from. It is present day northwest at the Belfast International Airport. Kind of give you an idea.
what part of Ireland did yours come from?
It starts with a A-N.
Antrim?
Yeah, that's it.
I hate to tell you, you're not Irish, you're Scottish.
Oh, I know. My family left Scotland in 1500 and went to Ireland in the 1600s.
A lot of Southerners think that they're Irish. My grandfather, he was a McCartney. He thought he was Irish. It about broke his heart when I told him, I hate to tell you, you're not Irish. We're not Irish. We're Scottish.
Yeah.
We had some Irish, and that, like I said, that was the Hensons. They came out of County Cork, which was Southern Ireland.
Right.
But Antrim, Armagh, places like that were in Ulster, and those were predominantly lowland Scots that had settled in Northern Ireland in the province of Ulster prior to coming to the United States. So yeah, what we call Scots Irish were actually not Irish at all.
Right.
In fact, they didn't call themselves that. They called themselves Ulster Scots, but yeah, so.
Yeah, that's with mine, 1500s, left Scotland. But yeah, somewhere in there, then they were found in the 1600s in Ireland. My direct line and my Confederate ancestors' families all came into America in the early 1700s.
Yeah. I wish I could find that quote by George Washington about the Scots Irish.
I think I know the one you're talking about, but
see if I can locate it.
That's good, Ryan. I hope you get a chance to visit your ancestor. Ryan, my family and your family's from the same area.
Yeah, I found a part of it, but it says, if defeated everywhere else, I will make my last stand for liberty among the Scots Irish of my native Virginia. But he goes on in the full quote to say, among whose people will never surrender to the British as long as there's a man alive to draw a gun. The Scots Irish were known for their resistance to subjugation. They were not going to be subjugated. And that was ultimately, it was that Scots-Irish spirit, and which, became the Southern culture as we know it today, that allowed a population of around 5 million people to hold off an army that came from a population of 22 million people for 4 years, usually with no shoes on, no food to eat, and carrying the family musket into battle. The miracle of the war between the states is not, I think Dr. Mitchum said this recently in the 1607 project that Abbeville put out, but it was, the miracle was not that the South defeated the North won the war. The miracle was that the South caused them to take so long in doing so. I mean, on paper, we had no chance of winning that war. We had no chance of surviving that war for more than a few months. And yet the spirit of our people caused it to drag on for 4 years. And we gave the Yankees defeat after defeat after defeat in battles that on paper, we had no chance of winning.
Right.
And that's a lot of that comes from, that Scots-Irish tradition of not buckling under to subjugation. We're not going to quit. We're not going to give up. We're not going to be controlled and dominated. It's very, very proud heritage, and it's the basis for Southern heritage as we know it today.
Yep. Hey, Todd. Ready. Got down. Oh. Just David. Exactly, Ronnie. Yeah, because my everybody that is part of the same clan that I am does a family reunion up at Grandfather Mountain during the clan gatherings. It was a hard decision. Either go to that or go to Charleston. But yeah, Carl, I want to say thank you for your time tonight. I did appreciate
problem, buddy.
I did learn quite a bit.
Well, the one thing that my wife will tell you about me is I believe everybody has a right to my opinion.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeffro. Keep in mind, if you guys are in South Florida, Southwest Florida, and if you want to come and hang out with the Florida man, this Thursday for the parade in Arcadia, please hit me up. I'll give you more details. Until then, until next Tuesday, stay Southern, stay out of trouble. Well, we're Southerners, we can't stay out of trouble. But may God bless you in your adventures. And end on this note.
My name is Nelson W. Winbush. I'm a member of the Jacob Sumner Camp 1516 Sons of Confederate Veterans. My reason for joining the Sons of Confederate Veterans after the NAACP declared they would destroy and remove everything Confederate in 1990, I decided that I would do all I could to make sure that people understood what the Confederacy stood for.
And that was Mr. Winbush, and he's still rocking and doing exactly what he said in that video. Have a good night. Stay Southern. May God bless you.